Has life ever hit you so hard that you felt completely powerless? That moment when your mind races with 1,000 thoughts, your chest tightens, and it seems like the world is crumbling around you? What if I told you that for thousands of years, Buddhist masters have known secrets that can make you virtually untouchable by life's chaos? Today, I'm going to share with you 10 powerful principles that can transform how you experience everything, from minor annoyances to life-shattering events. These aren't just ancient philosophical concepts. They're practical tools that have helped millions of people find peace in the most challenging circumstances. Imagine waking up tomorrow with an unshakable inner calm. Picture yourself facing your boss's criticism, relationship problems, financial worries, or even serious illness with a mind that remains clear, centered, and at peace. This isn't fantasy. It's what happens when you truly understand and apply these principles. The masters who developed these teachings weren't hiding in temples, disconnected from real problems. They faced hunger, illness, loss, and all the difficulties we experience today. The difference? They discovered how to prevent these challenges from creating suffering in their minds. Each principle we'll explore today is like a shield, not to block life's experiences, but to transform how they affect you. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete toolkit for handling anything life throws at you. Are you ready to discover how to remain calm when everyone else is losing their minds? Are you prepared to learn what thousands of Buddhist practitioners have known for centuries? Then let's begin this journey together, starting with the most fundamental principle of all, the truth that has the power to free your mind from suffering permanently. Look around you for a moment. Everything you see, your phone, your room, your body, your thoughts, your emotions, all of it is changing right now as you watch this video. This constant change isn't just a poetic idea. It's the fundamental nature of reality that Buddhist masters call anicca, or impermanence. But how does knowing that everything changes help me when I'm suffering? You might wonder. Let me share a powerful story that answers this question. A king once ruled over a vast kingdom. Despite his wealth and power, he swung between extreme joy and devastating sadness. On days when his armies won battles or his treasury grew, he celebrated extravagantly. But when faced with defeat or challenge, he fell into such deep despair that he could not govern. Concerned for their king, his advisors sought out a wise Buddhist master who lived in the mountains. After hearing of the king's struggles, the master crafted a simple ring and had it delivered to the palace with this message: wear this ring at all times. When you feel overwhelming joy or unbearable sorrow, look at its inscription. The king was skeptical but agreed. The next time he received wonderful news, he prepared to celebrate, but remembered the ring. He looked down at the inscription, which reads simply, "This too shall pass." His extreme excitement calmed into balanced appreciation. Months later, when his favorite palace burned down, he felt despair rising. Again, he looked at the ring. "This too shall pass." Instantly, his perspective shifted. If this tragedy would pass, why waste energy on excessive grief? Over time, the king discovered something remarkable by recognizing that nothing lasts forever, both good and bad. He remained centered regardless of circumstances. The storms of fortune could no longer toss him about like a small boat on violent seas. This is the power of truly understanding impermanence. When you know deeply that your current pain will change, you can stop fighting against it. When you realize your current happiness will evolve, you can appreciate it fully without desperately clinging to it. Think about your own life. Remember that problem from 5 years ago that seemed world-ending? Where is it now? Remember that achievement you thought would bring permanent happiness? How long did that feeling actually last? The truth of impermanence doesn't mean we shouldn't care or feel. It means we can experience life fully without being controlled by it. When you're sad, you can think, "This feeling is changing even as I experience it." When you're happy, you can appreciate the moment deeply precisely because it won't last forever. Try this simple practice. When you feel overwhelmed by any emotion, close your eyes and silently repeat, "This too shall pass." Notice how your breathing slows and your mind clears. This isn't avoiding reality, it's seeing it more accurately. The most liberating truth about impermanence is that it applies to everything, including your problems, pain, and suffering. No matter how permanent your challenges seem right now, they are already changing, already in motion towards something different. Understanding impermanence doesn't make you passive. Quite the opposite. It gives you tremendous power. When you're no longer afraid of change or constantly fighting against it, you can use your energy to respond skillfully to what's actually happening instead of wasting it on resistance. Remember, nothing can permanently affect you because nothing is permanent. This single realization, when deeply understood, can free you from needless suffering and open the door to lasting peace. Now that you understand how everything constantly changes, let's explore another powerful truth, the principle of non-self or anatta. This teaching might seem strange at first, but it holds the key to freeing yourself from much of life's pain. Have you ever asked yourself, "Who am I, really?" Most of us believe we have a fixed, permanent self that stays the same throughout our lives. We think, "This is who I am." But is that true? A wise teacher once asked his student to bring him a chariot. When the student returned with one, the teacher asked, "Show me exactly where the chariot is." The confused student pointed to the vehicle before them. "No," said the teacher. "I want you to show me the exact part that makes it a chariot." The student pointed to the wheels, but the teacher shook his head. "Those are just wheels, not a chariot." The student tried again, pointing to the platform, the axle, the pole, but each time, the teacher said, "That's just a part, not the chariot itself." Finally, the student understood. There is no single part one can point to that is the chariot. It's just a name we give to a collection of parts working together. The teacher smiled. And so it is with what you call yourself. Where exactly is this self that you defend so fiercely? Is it your body, your thoughts, your feelings, your memories, your roles in life? Just like the chariot, what we call self is actually a collection of constantly changing elements. Thoughts arise and pass away. Emotions flow and transform. Even our bodies replace their cells regularly. There is no fixed, permanent you hiding inside that stays the same from childhood to old age. This isn't just philosophy. It's practical wisdom that can change your life. Think about the last time someone criticized you. It hurt because you took it personally. You thought they were attacking a solid, permanent you. But what if there's no fixed self to attack? When you understand anatta, criticism loses much of its sting. Someone dislikes something you said? That was just words that passed through you, not you. Someone judges a mistake you made? That action doesn't define a permanent self. It was just one event in a flowing stream of causes and conditions. This teaching also helps us see our interconnection with everything around us. Just as you can't separate the ocean wave from the ocean itself, you can't truly separate yourself from the world you live in. Your thoughts contain ideas from books you read and people you've met. Your body is made from food that came from the earth. Your actions affect others, and theirs affect you. A forest monk once told his disciples, "When you truly understand that there is no permanent separate self, you'll stop taking life so personally. Your failures won't crush you. Your successes won't make you arrogant. You'll see that you are more like a flowing river than a solid rock." The principle of non-self doesn't mean you don't exist. It means you exist in a more fluid, interconnected way than you thought. You're not a fixed entity, but a beautiful process, like a song that exists while it's being sung, changing note by note. Try this simple practice. When strong emotions arise, instead of thinking, "I am angry" or "I am sad," Notice the subtle shift that happens when you think anger is present or sadness is visiting. Feel how this creates space between you and the emotion, allowing you to respond wisely rather than react blindly. The truth of non-self offers incredible freedom. When you're not trapped in defending and protecting a fixed identity, you can flow with life more gracefully. You can try new things without fear of failure threatening who you are. You can connect more deeply with others when the boundaries between self and others soften. Remember, understanding anatta doesn't erase your uniqueness. It simply frees you from being imprisoned by a limited concept of who you are. And when nothing can threaten your sense of a solid, permanent self, what power does any difficulty truly have over you? Now that we've explored how everything changes and how our sense of self is fluid, let's discover the third principle that can free you from suffering: the art of detachment, or nekkhamma. This doesn't mean becoming cold or not caring about anything. It means holding life with open hands instead of clenched fists. There's a beautiful story about a monk who received a precious golden bowl as a gift from a wealthy patron. Other monks worried that he would become attached to such a valuable object. But the next day, they saw him using it to collect alms just like his old wooden bowl. When one monk asked if he wasn't afraid of thieves, he smiled and said, "I've already let it go. I'm just its temporary keeper." That night, when thieves did come and take the bowl, the monks found him sleeping peacefully, unbothered by the loss. This monk understood something profound. Possessing things isn't what causes suffering. It's our attachment to them. We can have nice things, enjoy relationships, and work toward goals without letting them control our happiness. Think about the last time you lost something you valued. Perhaps a relationship ended. You missed an opportunity, or something broke. The pain you felt wasn't just about the loss itself, but about how tightly you were holding on to what was lost. A wise teacher once said, "Hold everything like you would hold a bird, firmly enough that it doesn't fly away, but gently enough that you don't crush it." This is the essence of detachment. You can fully enjoy what life offers while understanding that nothing belongs to you permanently. Detachment also applies to our opinions and beliefs. Have you noticed how much suffering comes from holding rigid views? We argue endlessly to defend positions, feeling personally attacked when someone disagrees. But when we hold our opinions lightly, seeing them as useful tools rather than absolute truths, we can discuss, learn, and grow without the pain of taking disagreement personally. There's a story of two monks arguing about a flag moving in the wind. One said, "The flag is moving." The other said, "No, the wind is moving." Their teacher passed by and said, "Neither the flag nor the wind is moving. It's your mind that is moving." Both monks had become attached to being right rather than seeing clearly. Perhaps the most challenging but rewarding form of detachment involves our relationships. Many people suffer because they've turned love into a form of clinging. They think, if you really love me, you would never change, never leave, never disappoint me. But true love includes freedom. It says, "I cherish you exactly as you are, and I support your growth even when it takes you in unexpected directions." A master once told a heartbroken student, "You're suffering not because you love too much, but because you turned love into attachment." Real love is like sunlight. It shines without demanding anything in return. Practicing detachment doesn't happen overnight. Start with small things. Maybe experiment with giving away something you like but don't need. Notice how it feels to choose freedom over possession. Or when you feel strongly about an opinion, try saying, "This is what I currently believe, but I could be wrong." The beauty of detachment is that it actually allows you to enjoy life more fully. When you're not frantically trying to control everything, you can be truly present with what is. Food tastes better when you're not already thinking about dessert. Conversations deepen when you're not planning what to say next. Work becomes more effective when you're focused on the process rather than obsessing over results. Remember, detachment isn't about having less, it's about holding on to less. And when you hold life with open hands rather than clenched fists, nothing can truly shake your peace of mind. Having learned about impermanence, non-self, and detachment, we're ready to explore the fourth powerful principle, equanimity, or upekkha. This is the quality of mind that remains balanced and steady, regardless of what life throws at you. Picture a tree in a storm. Small trees with shallow roots get uprooted by strong winds. But the great oak with deep roots may bend, but doesn't break. Equanimity is like having those deep roots, not so you can be rigid and unmovable, but so you can be flexible while maintaining your center. There's a story about a monk who lived near a village. One day, the villagers celebrated him, bringing gifts and singing his praises. The next day, they accused him of causing a child's illness and threw stones at his hut. Through it all, the praise and the blame, the monk maintained the same gentle smile. A puzzled apprentice asked how this was possible. The monk replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The praise and blame are like gifts I choose not to accept. They remain with the giver." This monk understood equanimity. He didn't swing between extreme happiness when praised and desperate misery when criticized. His inner peace didn't depend on what others thought of him. Think of your mind as a clear lake. When emotions like anger, excitement, or fear stir up the water, the lake becomes muddy and you can't see clearly. Equanimity is the practice of allowing the lake to settle so you can see things as they truly are. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or becoming emotionless. That would be like freezing the lake, rigid and unnatural. Instead, equanimity means feeling everything fully, but not being controlled by those feelings. You experience joy without becoming attached to it. You feel sadness without being overwhelmed by it. A master once told his students, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. Equanimity creates that crucial space. When someone insults you, instead of automatically reacting with anger, equanimity gives you a moment to choose a wiser response. One practical way to develop equanimity is to practice pausing before reacting. When something upsetting happens, take 3 deep breaths before saying or doing anything. This tiny pause can completely change your response. Another powerful technique comes from a teacher who advised, in any situation, ask yourself, will this matter in a year, in 5 years, in 20? This perspective helps you see which problems truly deserve your emotional energy and which ones don't. Equanimity also transforms how we relate to others. When we're balanced within ourselves, we stop expecting others to make us happy or blaming them for our unhappiness. We can love without demanding. We can care deeply without desperately clinging. A wise woman once compared equanimity to holding a bird. Hold too tightly and you'll crush it. Hold too loosely and it flies away. Equanimity is finding that perfect balance of care without grasping. This quality becomes especially valuable during life's inevitable challenges. When facing illness, loss, or major change, equanimity doesn't mean not caring or not feeling pain. It means experiencing these difficulties without adding extra suffering through resistance, panic, or despair. There's a beautiful image in Buddhist teaching of the lotus flower that grows in muddy water, yet remains clean and beautiful. Equanimity allows you to live in a world of challenges without letting those challenges disturb your inner peace. You engage fully with life while maintaining a steady center. Remember, equanimity isn't something you either have or don't have. It's a quality you develop gradually through practice. Each time you respond rather than react, each time you maintain balance amid chaos, you strengthen this power within yourself. And as this quality grows, you'll find that fewer and fewer things can truly disturb your peace of mind. Now that we understand how to maintain balance through equanimity, let's explore the fifth principle that can transform your life: mindfulness, or sati. This is the art of being fully present with whatever is happening right now, without judgment or distraction. In a world constantly pulling your attention in 1,000 directions, mindfulness is like finding your way back home to the present moment. It's the difference between actually living your life and merely thinking about it. There's a famous story about a Zen archer that beautifully illustrates mindfulness. A young man traveled far to learn archery from a renowned master. When he arrived, he expected to immediately begin practicing with bow and arrow. Instead, the master asked him to stand still and simply feel his breath for hours each day. Frustrated, the student complained, "When will I learn archery?" The master replied, "You are learning it now." An archer who cannot be fully present will never hit the target, no matter how good his technique. After months of breathing practice, the student finally received a bow. By then, he had developed such deep presence that when he aimed at the target, there was no separation between archer, bow, and target. They had become one unified experience. His arrows flew true, not because of fancy techniques, but because of his complete presence in the moment. Think about how often your body is doing one thing while your mind is somewhere else entirely. You're taking a shower but planning your day. You're eating lunch but scrolling through your phone. You're listening to a friend but thinking about what you'll say next. In these moments, you're missing your actual life as it unfolds. A teacher once said, "Most people are forgetful. They live as if they're going to live forever." Mindfulness is remembering that you're alive right now. This simple remembering changes everything. Colors become more vivid. Food tastes more delicious. Relationships deepen when you're truly there with another person. Mindfulness isn't complicated. You don't need special equipment or years of training to begin. Right now, try this. Feel the weight of your body where you're sitting. Notice the sensation of air touching your skin. Hear the sounds around you. Just for a few seconds, be fully here. That's mindfulness in its most basic form. There's a reason Buddhist masters consider mindfulness a superpower. When you're fully present, worry about the future and regrets about the past lose their grip on you. After all, anxiety lives in thoughts about what might happen, not in what's actually happening now. A monk once gave a student a glass of water and asked him to carry it around the monastery without spilling a drop. The student returned, proud that he hadn't spilled any water. The monk asked, "How many flowers did you see on your walk?" The student hadn't noticed any flowers. He was too focused on not spilling. That's partial mindfulness, the monk explained. Complete mindfulness means being aware of the water and the flowers, your task and the world around you. This teaching reveals that mindfulness isn't about intense concentration that excludes everything else. It's about an open, inclusive awareness that takes in the fullness of each moment. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is bringing it to difficult emotions. When anger, fear, or sadness arise, most people either get lost in these feelings or try to push them away. Mindfulness offers a third option: being present with the emotion without being controlled by it. Like sitting by a rushing river without falling in or running away, you can observe feelings as they arise and pass away. The breath is always your anchor to the present moment. When you notice your mind wandering or emotions taking over, gently return your attention to your breathing. This simple practice, done consistently, can transform your relationship with your own mind. Remember, mindfulness isn't about achieving some perfect state where your mind never wanders. It's about noticing when you've drifted away and gently returning, again and again, to this moment, the only one you ever truly have. With mindfulness as our foundation for staying present, We can now explore the sixth principle that transforms both our inner world and how we relate to others: universal compassion, or karuna. This is the heartfelt wish that all beings be free from suffering. There's a powerful story about compassion that has been shared for centuries. A wise teacher was walking along a riverbank with his students when they noticed a scorpion drowning in the water. The teacher immediately reached in to save it, but as soon as he lifted it out, the scorpion stung him. Startled by the pain, he dropped the creature back into the water. Without hesitation, he reached in again. This happened 3 times before a student asked, "Master, why do you continue to save the scorpion when it stings you each time?" The teacher smiled and said, "The scorpion stings because that is its nature. It doesn't change my nature, which is to save. Must I lose my nature because the scorpion keeps its nature?" In that moment, the student understood that true compassion doesn't depend on how others treat us. It flows from who we choose to be. Compassion might seem like a simple concept. Just be kind to others, right? But Buddhist wisdom takes this much deeper. Genuine compassion starts with understanding that everyone wants happiness, and no one wants to suffer, just like you. The difficult person at work, the driver who cut you off, the family member who frustrates you. Beneath their behaviors, they're seeking happiness and trying to avoid pain, often unskillfully. A monk once told his students, before judging someone, walk a mile in their shoes. That way, when you do judge them, you're a mile away and you have their shoes. This humorous saying contains profound wisdom. We can't truly know another's full story, their past hurts, their fears, their struggles. Compassion means giving others the same benefit of doubt we want for ourselves. But here's where many people misunderstand compassion. It's not about being a doormat. True compassion sometimes requires setting clear boundaries or even saying no. There's another story about a different monk who saw a man beating a horse. Instead of quietly accepting this cruelty, the monk intervened firmly, stopping the abuse while showing concern for both the horse and the man whose anger was harming himself as well. Surprisingly, compassion must begin with yourself. Think of how you speak to yourself when you make a mistake. Is it with harsh criticism or gentle understanding? A teacher once asked a student who struggled with self-judgment, if your best friend made this same mistake, what would you say to them? The student described how they would offer comfort and perspective. Then why deny yourself the compassion you so freely give others? The teacher asked, this self-compassion isn't selfish, it's necessary. Like putting on your own oxygen mask before helping others on a plane. You can only offer genuine compassion from a place of inner kindness, not from depletion or resentment. Practicing compassion transforms how you move through the world. When someone behaves rudely, instead of taking it personally, you might wonder, what pain might they be carrying today? This doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but helps you respond wisely rather than react defensively. Try this simple practice. Each morning, set an intention to notice someone's struggle, even something small like a person juggling too many packages or looking lost. Then offer help without expecting anything in return. This might be physical assistance, a kind word, or even just a moment of your full attention. These small acts ripple outward in ways you may never see. The beauty of compassion is that it benefits both the receiver and the giver. Research shows that compassionate people have stronger immune systems, lower stress, and greater happiness. What protects others from suffering also protects you. Remember, universal compassion isn't about performing grand heroic acts. It lives in small moments of choosing kindness, when it would be easier not to care. And when you extend this caring to all beings without exception, very little can disturb your peace. As we develop compassion for ourselves and others, we're ready to explore the seventh principle, intuitive wisdom or prajna. This isn't ordinary knowledge that comes from books or even experience. It's a deeper seeing that cuts through illusions and reveals things as they truly are. There's a famous story about a university professor who visited a Zen master to learn about wisdom. The master began by serving tea. He poured the visitor's cup full and then kept pouring until tea spilled everywhere. Alarmed, the professor cried out, "Stop! The cup is full. It can't hold anymore." The master replied, "Like this cup, your mind is full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you wisdom unless you first empty your cup?" This story points to something profound. True wisdom often begins with recognizing how much we don't know. While knowledge fills your mind with information, wisdom sometimes requires emptying it of fixed ideas that block fresh insight. Think of the difference between knowledge and wisdom this way. Knowledge knows that a tomato is technically a fruit. Wisdom knows not to put it in a fruit salad. One is information. The other is deep understanding that comes from seeing the whole picture. A young monk once asked his teacher, "I've studied all the texts and can recite them perfectly. Why don't I feel wise?" The teacher took him for a walk in the moonlight and asked, "Which gives more light, the moon or the finger pointing to it?" The student replied, "The moon, of course." "Then why," asked the teacher, "do you keep focusing on the finger of concepts instead of looking at the moon of direct experience?" This intuitive wisdom isn't mystical or out of reach. You've experienced glimpses of it when you suddenly saw a situation with complete clarity, beyond your usual thinking patterns. Perhaps you finally understood a relationship dynamic you'd been caught in for years, or suddenly saw through a belief that had limited you. Wisdom arises naturally when we quiet our chattering minds and see without the filter of our expectations, desires, and fears. A forest meditation master described it as the mind like a clear sky, where clouds of thought may pass through, but don't define or limit the sky itself. One practical way to develop wisdom is to question your certainties. When you feel absolutely sure about something, try asking, "Is this really true? Could there be another way of seeing this?" This simple practice begins to loosen rigid thinking patterns that block fresh insight. Another approach is cultivating what Zen calls beginner's mind. A master archer told his advanced students, "After 20 years of practice, I finally returned to the same mind I had on my first day. Open, curious, and free from the burden of thinking I know everything." When you approach situations with this beginner's quality, even ones you think you understand completely, new dimensions of reality reveal themselves. Wisdom also means recognizing that direct experience often trumps concepts. A student read many books about swimming and could explain all the techniques perfectly, but still feared water. His teacher finally threw him into a lake. After the initial shock, the student discovered his body naturally knew how to stay afloat. Sometimes we must drop our theories and directly experience life as it is. Perhaps the deepest aspect of intuitive wisdom is seeing how everything connects. A contemplative was asked, "What's the most important thing you've learned?" She replied, "The defense I thought separated me from others doesn't exist." Wisdom reveals that the boundaries we perceive between self and other, between this and that, are more fluid than our ordinary mind believes. This wisdom becomes your protection because it changes how you see challenges. When difficulties arise, instead of being swept away by reactivity, you can access a deeper perspective that asks, "What's really happening here? What am I not seeing?" From this spacious awareness, you'll find responses that no outer circumstance can shake. As our wisdom deepens, we're ready to explore the eighth principle that can transform how you see the world: interdependence, or pratitya. This teaching reveals that nothing exists by itself. Everything arises through countless connections to everything else. A teacher once asked her students, "Where does this apple come from?" One student quickly answered, "From the store." Another said, "From a tree." The teacher smiled and said, Look deeper. This apple exists because of the sun that gave it energy, the rain that nourished it, the soil that fed it, the tree that grew it, the bees that pollinated its blossom, the farmer who tended the orchard, the workers who picked and transported it, and countless other conditions. If any of these were missing, this apple wouldn't be here. And none of those elements exist independently either. Each arises from its own web of connections. This principle of interdependence shatters the illusion that you are separate from the world around you. The boundary between in here and out there starts to dissolve. The air you breathe connects you to all breathing creatures. The words you speak contain language created by countless humans across generations. Even your thoughts include ideas from books you've read and conversations you've had. A monk was once meditating by a river when he had a profound insight. He saw that he wasn't separate from the river. The water that flowed past him would eventually become part of his body when he drank. The sunlight warming his skin was becoming his body's energy. The boundary he had always imagined between himself and the world was just that, imaginary. Understanding interdependence can completely transform how you relate to others. When someone helps you, you recognize that their action didn't occur in isolation. They themselves were shaped by others' kindness. When someone harms you, you see that their behavior arose from countless causes and conditions, including their own past suffering. This doesn't excuse harmful actions, but it helps you respond with clarity rather than blind reaction. This principle also reveals the true impact of your choices. In a web where everything connects to everything else, nothing is insignificant. A forest meditation master put it this way: when you understand interdependence, you see that the way you speak to a child today will affect not just that child, but all who interact with them throughout their lifetime, and all who interact with those people, and on and on. A single act of kindness or harm ripples through the entire web. Try this simple practice. Before using any everyday object, a pencil, a cup, your phone, pause and consider all that had to happen for it to exist. The materials that form it, the people who designed it, built it, transported it, sold it. Feel the vastness of connections that brought it to your hands. This practice can transform ordinary moments into opportunities for wonder and gratitude. Interdependence also offers profound insight into your own nature. The boundary you perceive as self is more porous than you realize. As one teacher expressed it, the food you ate becomes your body. The books you read become your mind. The people you love become your heart. What you call you is actually a meeting place where countless streams of life flow together temporarily. When you truly understand that nothing and no one exists in isolation, that we are all jewels in Indra's net, reflecting and containing one another, very little can truly upset your peace. Criticism loses its sting when you see how the critic's words arise from countless conditions. Praise becomes less intoxicating when you recognize all the factors beyond you that contributed to success. You move through the world with greater ease, seeing yourself not as a separate entity that must be defended, but as a flowing process connected to all of life. Understanding how deeply connected everything is, we're now ready to explore the ninth principle, right effort or samviyoma. This teaching shows us how to use our energy wisely on our path toward inner peace. There's a story about a young man who wanted to become a great musician. He approached a renowned master and asked, "How long will it take me to master the instrument if I practice 10 hours every day?" The master replied, 30 years. Surprised, the student asked, "What if I practice 15 hours a day?" The master thought for a moment and said, 40 years. Confused, the student asked why longer practice would take more time. The master explained, "When you practice with tension and impatience, forcing yourself beyond what is sustainable, you create obstacles that take even longer to overcome. This story reveals something profound about effort. The quality of your effort matters more than the quantity. Straining too hard creates tension that actually blocks progress. Too little effort leads nowhere. Finding the middle way, steady, balanced effort is the key to lasting transformation. A meditation teacher once used a beautiful metaphor to explain this principle. She said, "Imagine tuning a stringed instrument. If the string is too tight, it breaks. If it's too loose, it won't play music." Right effort is finding the perfect tension where beautiful music can emerge. In your own life, this means finding the balance between pushing yourself to grow and accepting yourself as you are. This balanced approach applies to everything, from meditation practice to work to relationships. A forest monk instructed his students, "When you meditate, don't force your mind to be still. That creates more turbulence. Don't let it wander aimlessly, that leads nowhere. Instead, hold your attention with gentle firmness, like holding a bird secure enough that it doesn't fly away, gentle enough that you don't crush it." Right effort has another important dimension. It's not just about how hard you try, but where you direct your energy. A teacher asked a student who was exhausted from constant spiritual striving, "What are you working so hard for?" The student replied, "To become a better person." The teacher smiled and said, "Perhaps instead of trying to become someone better in the future, you could put your effort towards seeing who you already are right now." This teaching distinguishes between effort that comes from lack and effort that comes from wholeness. When you strive because you believe you're not enough, your actions carry the energy of desperation. When your effort flows from recognizing your inherent completeness, it carries the energy of joy and natural unfolding. Another essential aspect of right effort is consistency over intensity. A Zen master told his eager students, "It's better to walk slowly in the right direction than to run quickly in circles." Small steps taken regularly create more lasting change than occasional heroic efforts followed by exhaustion. This is why daily practice for a few minutes often yields better results than weekend marathons of intensity. Try this approach. Instead of pushing to reach a goal as quickly as possible, ask, "What pace can I sustain joyfully over time?" Rather than forcing yourself through willpower, find ways to make the path itself enjoyable. A meditation teacher put it this way, "The greatest effort is to find effortlessness within effort." Perhaps one of the most counterintuitive aspects of right effort is understanding when not to try so hard. Sometimes, the wisest effort is non-doing, creating space for insights to arise naturally. A monk who had been striving unsuccessfully to solve a koan, a paradoxical riddle, finally gave up and went for a walk in the garden. As he relaxed and simply enjoyed the flowers, the answer spontaneously dawned on him. Rest is not the opposite of effort, but an essential part of it. Just as musicians must rest between notes to create music, and farmers must let fields lie fallow to restore fertility, your mind needs periods of conscious non-doing to integrate what you've learned and replenish your energy. When you understand right effort, external circumstances lose much of their power to affect you. You're no longer frantically pushing against life or collapsing in resignation. Instead, you move through challenges with steady, balanced energy, knowing when to act, when to wait, when to persist, and when to let go. This balanced approach becomes its own protection against burnout, frustration, and the exhaustion that comes from misguided striving. Having explored balanced effort, we arrive at our 10th and final principle, radical acceptance, or tathata. This teaching invites us to embrace reality exactly as it is, without resistance, perhaps the most powerful protection against life's inevitable challenges. There's a famous story about a farmer whose only horse ran away. His neighbors came to console him, saying, "What bad luck." The farmer simply replied, "Is that so?" A week later, the horse returned, bringing with it 7 wild horses. The neighbors exclaimed, "What wonderful luck!" The farmer responded, Is that so? Later, the farmer's son broke his leg while trying to tame one of the wild horses. What terrible luck, the neighbors said. Again, the farmer asked, Is that so? The following week, army officials came to draft young men for war, but they passed over the son because of his broken leg. The neighbors congratulated the farmer on his good fortune, and once more, he simply asked, Is that so? This story reveals the profound wisdom of radical acceptance. The farmer didn't label events as good or bad. He simply acknowledged what was happening without adding layers of judgment or resistance. This doesn't mean he was passive. He still took appropriate action when needed. But he remained free from the emotional turbulence that comes from fighting against reality. A meditation teacher once explained it this way: pain is inevitable in life, but suffering is optional. Pain is the natural response to difficult situations, the sharp sting of loss, the ache of disappointment, the tightness of fear. Suffering is what we add to pain through resistance, judgment, or narrative. When we say, "This shouldn't be happening," or "I can't bear this," we create a second layer of distress on top of the original pain. This principle doesn't ask you to like everything that happens. It invites you to stop fighting against what has already occurred. A Zen master put it simply, the snow falls, each flake in its appropriate place. Whether we judge the snowfall as inconvenient or beautiful, it still falls. Our resistance doesn't change the reality, it only changes our experience of it. Radical acceptance has transformative power precisely because it starts with seeing things as they actually are. A teacher working with a student who was grieving said, "You cannot heal what you do not acknowledge." Begin by fully admitting what has happened without minimizing or exaggerating. Only then can true healing begin. This principle applies to both external circumstances and our inner landscape. When difficult emotions arise, anger, fear, jealousy, shame, our instinct is often to push them away or pretend they're not there. A forest monk advised, treat emotions like visiting guests. Some are pleasant, some are difficult. But all will eventually leave if you neither cling to them nor push them away. A helpful practice is to meet challenging situations with the phrase, "This too is happening." Not, "This shouldn't be happening," or "Why is this happening to me?" but simply acknowledging reality as it unfolds. This small shift from resistance to acknowledgement can bring immediate relief, even when circumstances remain unchanged. Radical acceptance extends to accepting yourself exactly as you are in this moment. A meditation teacher asked a perfectionist student, "Can you allow yourself to be a human being instead of a human doing or a human striving?" This doesn't mean giving up on growth or improvement. It means that genuine change begins with accepting your current reality rather than rejecting it. There's a story about a monk who struggled with angry thoughts during meditation. The more he tried to force them away, the stronger they became. Finally, his teacher advised, "Stop fighting. Instead, bow to your anger when it arrives. Say to it, 'I see you,' and make space for it." When he stopped treating anger as an enemy, it began to lose its grip on him. This principle reveals that much of our suffering comes not from situations themselves, but from our demand that reality be different than it is. A wise teacher compared this to a child having a tantrum because the sky is blue when they want it to be green. No amount of crying or protesting will change the color of the sky. Peace comes from accepting its blueness. What makes radical acceptance so powerful is that it frees up energy we would have spent fighting reality, allowing us to respond more skillfully to whatever is happening. When we stop arguing with what is, we can clearly see what can be changed and what must be accepted. And in that clarity, we find a peace that no outer circumstance can disturb. You've now discovered the 10 timeless Buddhist principles that can transform how you experience life's challenges. From understanding impermanence to practicing radical acceptance, each teaching offers a path to unshakable inner peace. But knowledge alone isn't enough. These principles come alive when you practice them in your daily life. Start with just one concept that resonated most deeply with you. Apply it consistently for a week and notice how your relationship with difficulties begins to shift. Then, gradually incorporate the others. Remember, this journey isn't about becoming a different person. It's about uncovering the peace that has always been within you, beneath the layers of reactivity and resistance. These ancient teachings have guided countless seekers through life's storms for over 2,500 years, and their wisdom remains as relevant today as ever. If you found value in these principles, chances are someone in your life is struggling right now and could benefit from them too. Take a moment to share this video with them. It might be exactly what they need to hear today. Your simple share could be the beginning of someone else's journey toward lasting peace. And if you want to continue exploring these transformative Buddhist teachings with me, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Each week, I share stories, practices, and insights to help you develop greater wisdom and compassion in your everyday life. Hit the subscribe button now and enable notifications so you don't miss any future videos. This community of practitioners is growing everyday people just like you who are committed to finding peace within themselves and spreading it to others. Join us on this journey. Thank you for your presence and attention. Until next time, may you meet each moment with awareness, compassion, and the unshakable peace that comes from knowing that nothing can truly affect you when you understand these timeless principles. Subscribe now and join me again next week for more Buddhist wisdom that transforms ordinary life into an extraordinary journey.